By the time this video comes out, Caesar should be released. And if you haven't seen other people's pre-release review guide, they're basically guides without being called a guide. Anyway, a lot of people are under the assumption that Seth and Jane and Caesar will be like the one team that you kind of have to play in order to trigger everyone's stuff, but it's not going to be the team that you want to play because Seth and Jane pretty much fill the same role. And had you talked to me a week ago, I would have told you, yeah, I agree, until I talked to my boy Nix. And Nix, which I'm just going to call him like the Seth aficionado at this point, Nix basically showed me a completely different way to play Seth. And I already knew that Seth was a pretty strong character as far as like helping out Jane, or any anomaly character for that matter, but we're talking about Jane and Caesar here, so we'll stick to that. And one of the key things that I've always heard people complain about when it comes to Seth is how do you manage his meter? Now, if you're not familiar with some of the terms that I use, I bring a lot of fighting game terminology, or most recently Monster Hunter, even though I've been talking about Monster Hunter, but whatever. I bring a lot of other terms to my videos and try and relate that so that more people who play other games besides gacha games can find a way to relate to the stuff that I'm saying. In particular, when I say meter management is basically controlling or learning how to control and properly use your meter for whatever character that may be, so that you can get everything you want out of them. If we take Ellen, for instance, Ellen has scissor stacks, and the combo that I taught in my own Ellen guide was pretty much saying like you can guarantee having scissor stacks almost at every single point. Like I'm fumbling my words here, but point being is that there are different things you can do. Usually these falls down into combos of how you play the character to properly manage your meter. Seth is no different. Now, I will point out this is significantly harder to do without M2 Seth, but M2 Seth in particular allows it so that anytime Seth jumps on the field, its own unique meter, which is going to be that voltage meter he has right beneath his name, that is going to fill up to 75%. 75% is exactly what you need in order to use his hold attack so that you can get the quick assist from that. It's a reverse quick assist, by the way, which means instead of going into the character on the right, you're actually going to go into the character on the left. And this is why you'll see the order for the team being Jane, Seth, and then Caesar. So Seth is pretty much your support character. Now, to explain the rest of the team and how this is pretty much functioning, you are using Seth as a pseudo stunner. You are not using Seth as the primary stunner. In relatively speaking, like he's the one on the field. He's the one that's doing the stuns. He's the one that's getting so on and so forth, right? When you think of a stunner, you're usually thinking of a character like Koleda, for instance, or even Lycon, where these characters are always on the field and they're always going to do something in order to get the stun. But in Seth's case, this is going to change your build a little differently, or like ever so slight. So unfortunately, for those that have already been farming Seth and you're like, oh, I have my perfect Seth build, this is perfect for Jane and Rena or something, right? This probably won't be your perfect build anymore. That is if you plan on playing Jane, Seth, and Caesar. If you have no intentions on playing this entire video doesn't matter to you, but you can still watch it and support your boy, right? Now, before I get into the actual showcase of showing you guys what I've done with this team, let me go ahead and break down the team itself. So if we go ahead and take a look at the characters, Jane is pretty standard, right? She's going to be your typical thing that you're going to use Jane for. Like, there's not really a big deal or a big change with Jane. Some of the things that we did test out, and we spent a few hours or a few days is what it turned into, but mostly a few hours is what I'm going to chalk it down to. We spent a few hours trying to figure this out. We originally ran attack percent over anomaly just to try and get a little bit more attack, right? So you saw that I would have swapped out something like this for this, and then that would have changed her 2200 attack, I think is what she had, into like 25 or something like that. 28, my bad, which gets you a little closer to 3000. The anomaly proficiency dropping down from 380 to 360, you're not really worried about because you have Seth on a team. Seth is going to give you, I think it's plus 100 actually, which is everything that she needs right then and there. 420 is guaranteed all of her attack or damage boost, and then it also guarantees you 100% crit rate, so it's fine. But we weren't getting the assaults to happen as fast as we wanted, given the particular route that we went about using rotation. And we wanted to be able to do this during stun because that's where a lot of the damage was coming from. And we were trying to get something that was higher than 300k assaults into somewhere around like 800k assaults, which seems to be pretty the high average with this particular Jane build in particular. Now, I was running Pin at one point, but she's already level 60. She just doesn't need penetration ratio at this point. If I was running Rena with Jane, maybe, but I'm not. So physical is where you're at. If we move beyond that point and we come over to Seth, once I show you guys this, you're gonna be like, bro, what the fuck? Like, but I promise you, it's like some of the smoothest shit in the world. All right, skills are maxed out because this is the. By the way, if I didn't mention this earlier, this is the content creator experience server. If we were to run over to this, you see that Seth is the one with Caesar's weapon and not his own. Why is that? The key reason that you're going to be swapping Seth's weapon with Caesar's weapon is specifically because of the energy regeneration rate only applying to the shield once it's active. So Seth won't actually get that buff until after he lands his first EX attack, which then prevents you from gaining enough energy at the start of battle from doing, essentially you're going to be doing the parry into EX skill into the assist rotation, right? Like a team combo, if you will. And you won't be able to do this without two key things. One, the W engine, and two, you won't be able to do this without swapping his, I believe it's the, let me show you actually real quick. Should be this piece. Yeah, you can't run impact on this particular piece. You can, but then you won't be able to get enough energy to do your EX skill when you need it. Not when you want to do it, but when you need to use it. It's a little unfortunate, but energy regeneration rate works out for him perfectly on this particular build because it keeps his energy up. And when you have M2, it means that every single time you come out, you're going to have voltage to be able to do your quick assist or your reverse quick assist. So it works in your favor. As I mentioned earlier, Seth becomes a pseudo stunner, which essentially means that after losing the ability to run impact on his 6th disc slot, Caesar's weapon is essentially balancing this out. And for those that don't know, Caesar's weapon essentially gives you a 30% increased shield value. You can see that right here. You're also going to be able to trigger, or rather give the entire team, I think it's 18%. I think like I can't just look at it, right? But 18% damage and then 12% daze. Anytime you do a perfect dodge or you get interrupted or you trigger interrupt. Interrupt is something that I'm still not entirely too sure what it is. I think that's the game's way of saying counter, or like the parry, right? Caesar does a parry and a counter, because this weapon was designed for her, but somehow we were able to make this work on Seth, which is crazy. Anyhow, this is ideally what you're running. Two-piece impact or shock star is what you're going to be running for the extra impact. You don't necessarily need this, but you want it. The reason that you want it is because once you see how Seth is being played, you'll notice that his pseudo stunner play style, right? Your main stunner, your main one doing the counters, your parries, things like that, is still going to be Caesar. But Seth is essentially coming out to absorb what Caesar can't do in that moment. You'll see the execution, and I'll kind of like narrate over it a little bit instead of me playing it live, because it's way too much, right? I can't talk and play at the same time at that critical of a level, because if the thumbnail didn't show it, this is sub 1 minute. This is the fastest that I've ever been able to clear anything. And from what I've been able to see from a number of people, unless you wail out, like I'm talking Eidolons, you have like S3 or higher for your signature weapons, things like that. There are not a lot of people that are able to sub 1 minute anything with just base, E0 or M0 characters, things like that. So this is a pretty big accomplishment. The next thing that will be higher than this is sub 1 minute run and then not getting hit, like a hitless sub 1 minute run. That would be the next biggest thing. I would love to see somebody do it. The shield, you'll notice Protopunk, right? Something that Protopunk does. Passive effects of this same name do not stack, which means you cannot have two Protopunk users on the same team because it just won't work. Now, what's funny is my fastest clear actually had Protopunk on both Caesar and Seth, which means my Caesars, or one of them actually, the build just didn't matter. Her build, because she's the one that's helping out Jane the most and she's physical, I changed this to the Freedom Blues so that we can get more anomaly build up. The reason you're doing this for her is because she's the one abusing EX skills the most. So you'll see Peacekeeper, which is Seth's signature weapon. Peacekeeper, whenever you use an EX attack or EX special attack or an assist follow-up, so this also counts for like a defensive assist from what we've been able to test, this is going to increase that anomaly build up by 55% of whatever attack you're doing, right? And since she's using EX parry a lot, this shield is also giving her energy while she's off field. You get a lot more value out of Seth using this if you play her this way. So Seth, or my bad, not Seth, but Caesar, when you see the play or the game, Caesar is not the character that is, I really don't like when players promote this, but it's an action-based game. You play it how you feel. Keep your stunner on field until you get the stun. I think that's one of the worst ways to play the game because you don't fully utilize everyone's kit. This is also a big reason why you have some situations like with Seth, for instance, where people say it's really hard to manage his meter. It's not that it's hard, it's that your choice of playstyle doesn't benefit his meter management, and you need to readjust how you're playing the game so that you can actually play that character. All stunners don't play the same. All DPS characters don't play the same. It's very clear. We can compare Ellen and Zhiyun. They don't play the same. We can compare Jane and Zhiyun. They don't play the same, right? A lot of people still have the conception or the misconception that Jane is the one that's supposed to stay on the field the entire time. And that's just not true. She doesn't want to be on the field the entire time. You want to take advantage of her speed, how fast she gets in and out. She has a very hit and run play style, similar to like a cat and mouse, I guess, but it is what it is. Impact not being 200. 200 is kind of like the golden stat for impact because of her, where is it at? Her skill, if I'm not mistaken, or core passive, my bad. The 1400% plus the 1400. After doing all the math, if you have impact at 200, that turns it into like 2800 or something like that you're going to be getting, and then plus another 1400, it jumps up to like 4200. So you have like a 42,000, over 4,000 shield value towards everything, right? Her Radiant Aegis, you have over 4,000 HP to mess around with. Now, some enemies hit really hard and they can take that out pretty quickly, but you don't take damage over the shield. So you could literally have shield HP 1. Someone can hit you for 9999999. The shield will take all 9999999, right? If it's one single hit, it'll just take all of it. So Radiant Aegis, this is another reason why people are saying Caesar is a must pull. I don't agree anymore, but I do think she's right beneath a must pull. The only reason I'm saying she's not a must pull is because you can get away with not having Caesar, but over time, I think Caesar is going to have a very strong Zhongli effect, where if you have her on your account, everything in the game is just a breeze, right? You learn how to play it. Anyhow, 152 isn't a big deal because of how we're going to be playing Caesar. So with that out of the way, let me just go ahead and break down how we're playing the game, or how we're playing everything, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. If I'm not mistaken, this right here should be my sub 1 minute run. And basically what's happening throughout all of this, I lied to you. As I'm practicing this, things start to click until it happens. And so a lot of what you do is just patience and practice. What I'm doing right there, let me just kind of show y'all real quick. What's happening here is what's called plinking. I explained this in a couple different videos, but I'm going to try and, pause or frame by frame it for you guys. I don't know the button for frame by frame, so that might be a little bit of a difficult thing for me to do in VLC, but boom. And you see quick assist. Normally what people do, I was doing this before I was taught this as well. You mash quick assist and you let Seth do whatever he's doing, and then Jane comes out and now you're playing Jane. You don't want to do that. Instead, what do you want to do? Right here, you see that small change in Seth's animation is that I at the very end of his defensive assist, when he comes out and gets that parry, at the very end of that, you want to mash one of the moves, either his hold attack or his EX skill. Then you want to press quick assist, because if you do it too late, quick assist goes away. If you pay attention to the bottom right corner, quick assist will just disappear. But I was able to press it first, so I plinked it. Plinking just means that I press like 1, 2 really fast, right? Almost at the exact same time, but you don't press them at the same time. Maybe Zenless is a little more lenient than fighting games, and you can press it at the same time. I'm used to plinking from Street Fighter 4, so I didn't really have to think about it that way. But if it works for you, it works for you, right? Go ahead and try it if you want to, just to get it. You see that Seth is over there on the left. He's still doing something. Jane comes out and you see the big, I was going to call it purple, the big yellow flash, right? That means another attack is incoming. Now, both my characters out on the field, so it's not possible for me to really do anything here with Seth or Jane. I mean, Jane is going to be the controlling character. I could obviously get my dodge attack, but because of her weapon, quick assist count as dodge attacks. They give me the same buff. So right here, boom, I go into Caesar. Now you see Jane is still doing her thing. She's about to leave the field. Seth is still doing his entire animation, right? The EX skill animation. Now Caesar's out here. She's going to come in, swing her big sword, lots of damage. Boom, it's a parry. Boom, right there. I hate the tracking on this move, but it always misses. I get another parry, and right there, I don't know why it goes back like 10 seconds, but you'll see it again here. Hold on. We're going to miss this EX2. This tracking sucks on that move. Right here, you're going to see me go for this, and where I could have parried, right, I went for Caesar instead. Now, something really cool about this game is that I forget what Azrael calls it, but the DP assist. That's what he calls it, where you're basically able to input an EX skill or a dodge attack into an EX skill and get the parry attack at the same time. And I could have done that with Caesar, but I didn't. So instead, what's happening here, just to make it a little bit more cleaner for me, since, fingers, I go back into Seth. Seth doesn't need to give Jane any more shield because it's already up. But what I want is that stun. You see that both of them are here now. I'm also going to be affected by the shock attack if I don't play this correctly. I have no EX meter, so I need to be able to find a way to get the stun. Now, thankfully, Caesar's shield is keeping me from taking actual damage. So what happens here, boom, 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 just like that. I do the EX. You saw I did the hold attack, and then I let the hold attack go, and I did the quick assist just so it can come out. I get Caesar out here because big dude is done doing his electric attack so that I can get my attack off, and now we get stunned. Wham! Go right back into Seth. Gonna do what I need to, go into Jane, And then this is going to delete one of them. Boom, gone, just like that. 1 point. Oh, look at that, bro. I didn't even know I hit 1,000,000 in this particular run, but that was beautiful. So now he's gone, all right? 1.18 was crazy. We go right back over here. I'm still doing the same thing. Boom, EX attack. You see Seth doing it. Disorder. He is now stunned. That is the reason you guys want to be able to use this plinking technique with Seth and Jane, because the stun value is crazy. The normal times when you do this and you do a regular like EX skill or parry into her quick assist, that stun value is not jumping up in the same way. This adds a clean 30 to 60 stun value on anything in the game. And this is a boss character, by the way, guys, not a regular elite, which means he gets 3 of these 3 stun attacks, right? So your chain attacks, you can do 3 on him. That's how you can tell if something's a boss character or classified as a boss character in the game. So now, boom, I'm coming out here, wham, just like that. Now I can go back into Seth and I can do, I believe I cancel this here. Yep, just like that in Jane, and we're done. All right, boom, delete it. And this is it. He's dead. This was the fastest run I've ever done anything in my life. And holy smokes, bro, just straight up white. It was crazy to see this happen and like to actually do this live. I even like yelled when it happened. 55 seconds, man. That is insane. So at the end of it all, this is insane. All right, now this video, like I said in the beginning of this video, this is to complement the Caesar guide. The reason I wanted to put this out almost, you know, at the same time or 1 for 1 is to pretty much show a lot of other players that it's not just one way to play something. We're not one collective hive mind, if you will, when it comes to this endless stuff. A lot of us usually think the same or think on subjects the same matter, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're all right or we're all wrong or only one person is wrong, whatever. In this particular case, Seth, and from what we've seen, we watched a lot of videos on Seth. We watched a lot of people talk about Seth, how to use Seth, like everything. And I didn't even make a Seth guide because I didn't understand Seth. I wasn't playing Seth. I wasn't going to build him. But now that I understand Seth, it's so much easier for me to explain how to play Seth, what he wants, who's Seth working with, how do you do this with Jane, like, right? Because he changes depending on that third character. If he's the only stunner, then he's going to be on the field a little longer. If he is the pseudo stunner, then you guys just saw how you play that character, swap in and out, blah, 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 all that kind of fun stuff. Seth and Caesar work. They really do. Will this work if you don't have her weapon? I think conceptually, this will still work. The team will still work. The concept will still work. I just don't know what you would give Seth at this point, because she still wants Seth's weapon. If you're playing her with Seth and Jane, Caesar still wants Seth's weapon because it just works for her. Once Bernice comes out, obviously things will change, but as of right now, she's going to want Seth's weapon. And if you're not playing this team, none of this shit matters, right? Like, you're not using Seth's weapon on her, you're going to use her weapon. But I also gave in my guide a couple other weapon recommendations that you could use. I just don't think they serve the same purpose for this particular team. And by no means is this me saying like, this is the best team, you have to play this team. No, this is just me showing you guys, like, out of all the teams that I've played, and I mean all of them, this was, once you learn it, this was probably the most fluid and efficient team that I could have like put my hands on to figure out. It was so fun to play, and it obviously it brought me results, right? I got a 55-second clear, which is one of the fastest things in the game. I want to be able to get more of these type of clears or faster clears, but it is what it is. This video is long enough. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe. How is this video longer than my guide? I don't know, but it is what it is. Smell you later.